And so I'm very excited to have in today Kini Roesler, who is an Edge of Existence Fellow. He's going to tell us a little bit today about his hooded grebe project to save one of the most beautiful birds, surely, not just in South America, but around the world. Without further ado, thank you so much for joining us today, Kini, and welcome to the Global Biofest, man.
Thank you, Jesse. Thank you for the invitation, and thank you for also show. He was doing a really good job chasing me the last few months because I was in the field a lot, so he was chasing all the time, and he did a good job. I didn't respond as well as I think he was expecting, but thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here.
You're here, and the main thing is we want to feature people that are constantly in the field. It means you're doing incredible work, and so thank you so much. I'll pass along the big kudos, though, and of course, Joe's been behind this whole thing, so thanks for being here. I'm so excited to dive in with your special animal, and we've got your presentation up, Kini, so if you want to go right ahead, you're good to go.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna to excuse me a little bit. I'm a little bit slow. I think I'm behind COVID again. Just I'm feeling old, so sorry if I'm a little slow. That's the situation worldwide. So let's deal with it. Yeah. Okay. My plan today was to give a short presentation because I don't know where all the people that is watching us is living, but in Argentina it's quite late, so probably if some interesting people from South America is here, it's probably going to be tired. So I don't want to bore them. So I'm going to talk about the hooded grebe project, which I hope most of you know the hooded grebe, but Joe asked me to introduce myself a little bit so you can know me. I don't know. It's all working all right. I've never been using the stream
fine. Yet. This is perfect, man. I love your presentation. We got your first slide up. It looks beautiful.
And the second one is already on?
Yeah, we got the picture of you in Santa Cruz, 2017, 1994, Las Cruces. You're good.
Perfect. Okay. I want to introduce very quickly. I'm born in the countryside of Argentina. I'm stand birding since I was 10 years old, more or less. And as soon as I was, I don't know, 14, 15 years old, I become part of Aves Argentinas, the institution I'm part now. And since then, I've been always connected to conservation. And in 2010, I started this project I want to talk to you about the hooded grebe project. I joined as a volunteer in 2010, and a year later, I was already in charge of the conservation actions and the research. And nowadays, I'm more a coordinator together with Lali Fasola. We are co-coordinating the project and the whole program that I'm going to tell you about. And why this basically... One part of my life that basically it was different at that time when I started birding is I really like the tropics until I met this awesome bird, the hooded grebe. The hooded grebe is awesome. Not just it's beautiful. You can see it. It's amazing. But also it's kind of it's a mystery bird. It lives in the southernmost part of South America, really remote landscape, really extreme habitat, really hard to get to the places to see it. It's so remote that it was discovered in 1974. It's just new, a brand new species considering the time of, like Jesse was talking about the horn grebe. Those grebes have been known for science since, I don't know, 200, 250 years old. This is brand new. So there was everything to know about this bird. So it was so intriguing that I switched my head and from the tropical forest that I loved when I was a kid to the Patagonia, to extreme Patagonia. And even more, it's a critically endangered species. It's a really, really endangered species. It's number 20 on the edge list of the Zoological Society of London. So basically, among the 10,000 birds species known, this is the number 20. This is not good. It's bad. It's the opposite. And mostly all the distribution of the species is within Argentina. There is a small population in Chile, which is really important as well. But mostly all the colonies that have been discovered so far, all the breeding colonies, are in Argentina. So it's a really big responsibility to Argentina to protect this species. So I felt that there was a responsibility to do something. And also because I like challenge, and this has many other challenges. Like one of the first things that I read about the hooded grebe, which actually I had to test it during my PhD, but that has the lowest reproduction rate of all grebes. So it's not only that there are few of them, but they also reproduce very few every year. So it's a challenge bird. And the population Uh, well, actually, the history is a little bit. I want to go a little bit backwards. When it was discovered in 1974, it was thought to be one of the most endangered species in the whole world. Uh, but soon after, the lot of people pay attention to the species and start to work on trying to find where it was actually, and they discovered that there were a lot of them. And actually, the UCN said in one report that probably it was living in a so remote place, so difficult to access place, that nothing would happen to it because it was naturally protected for humans. Well, we all know that humans has a big capacity to generate problems elsewhere. So basically, when I start to work with the project, start because we realized that something was going on. It's what's getting harder and harder and harder to get to see it. A lot of tour companies have failing to find the grip. And when we start working in 2009, 2010, we discovered that the population had crashed up to down to like 85% in only 25 years. So now there are less than 700 individuals around, about 700 individuals around. So we at that time we start to work and we said, okay, this is urgent. We have to do something. This is really, really, really important. So the first question was, what's happening with this grip? What's the problem with the grip? Well, and we all know probably during this festival you were talking a lot about climate change, because that's the thing that is like all over the world happening right now. It's really scary. We are all scary about that. Some people not because they're crazy. I don't know. I can understand why they are not worried about, especially the politicians or some politicians. But also there were some other. It's hard for us to do something about this kind of climate change changing the whole ecosystem, but we can do some things about other threats that we have to know really well, like for example invasive species that were happening. There was already mentioned in the literature that could happen. But then also there are habitat change by infrastructure. That was the main threats that were happening with the Grebe. And here is kind of one of my thoughts to like this talk. If I want to give a kind of some meaning, is to say that we cannot do any conservation if we don't have good science behind it. Why is that? Because I'm a biologist, I'm a scientist, so I believe in science. But basically, nowadays there's a lot of science, a lot of conservation happening that is more like a perception of the conservationist. And that's not really the good thing to do, because we need to have information. We need to know what we are doing and why we are doing. We need to know the population. We need to know the species. We need to know the habitat in order to have to start to understand what's going on with the species and which are the conservation actions we have to take, because otherwise we are just following our feelings, and that's never can be good, but you don't know. That's the problem. So with the hoodie grip, when I just started, the first thing I decided was to go for a PhD, have a good science after behind it, start to learn about genetics of the population to understand how the population were kind of not behaving now, but in the past. But also I started to study migration to understand how the population was behaving now, how they are moving around, how they because we need to know the roads, we need to know the demographic trend, a lot of things we need to know. We need to know. But also, I have to connect with a lot of researchers in order to understand the habitat and a lot of you can not know the species, the hooded grebe, if you don't know the place where it lives. So basically, species and habitats are things linked. You cannot take one apart and think you are preserving the species. You need to preserve the species and the habitat. So I need to connect with a lot of people, a lot of researchers, and try to understand the conditions of the habitat. And that was kind of really hardcore science. But we never make that as to kind of to push back for conservation actions, because that's the other kind of I don't know, experience I have learned, is that you have to be doing conservation even though you don't have the science. That seems contradictory, but like conservation is urgent. You have to do it. So you have to do it, and you have to take measures, and you have to try to accomplish what you're looking for. But if you are doing good science by the side, you can start to kind of interact between the two of them, start to take better decisions and correct yourself. You don't have to be afraid of make mistake when you are working in conservations, because we are in an urgency. We have to do something, and sometimes that decisions are not always the best. But you have to have data to prove that you are doing the things right, or to prove that you are doing the thing wrong and correct yourself. So we soon after, about 2011, we already start with the colony guardian programs, which is a kind of a crazy program. It's basically people that lives next to the colonies of grebes, like in the photo on the upper right. These guys, they are crazy. I was one of them at the very beginning. Now sadly I'm not longer one of them, but they live with the grebes. They spend all day, and they take care that nothing happened to the grebes. And that's an awesome work to do, because you are really committed to conservation if you are doing that in the austral Patagonia, where the weather is really extreme. Winds of over 100 kilometers, snow storms in the middle of the summer. But well, we're also doing some things in-house, like in our field station, like the hand-rearing XC2 program had been working really well, especially this year. And we are doing some stuff that also try to counteract the effects of the global climate change, like the creating kind of artificial colonies with platforms. So we're trying to tackle all the threats, and especially the invasive species, which as a conservationist I don't like to work controlling other species, but there are things that you have to do in order to basically to restore the characteristic of all the health and an environment. So we've been restoring lakes, controlling the kelp gull population, which is actually, the kelp gull was a native species of Patagonia, but the population had increased so much following the city dams that we are working with the government to try to control, or to uh, kind of make better city dams. And we are controlling the mink, which is a more acute threat for the hooded grebe. One American mink can kill the whole colony, like a colony of 30, 40 individuals can kill in one night. So it's a really, really acute. Think that the whole population of the species is about 700 individuals. But one of the biggest and most important lessons, or lessons, no, well, like the things that the grebe have done for us for conservation, is that we realized that the grebe was a perfect umbrella and flagship species. So on the back of the hood grebe, we create the Programa Patagonia, which is the Patagonian program of Argentinas. And that allows us to use the resources that the hood grebe was creating to protect the habitat to work with many other species, especially many other endangered species, much far less known and less charismatic species. And nowadays we have like 13 ongoing scientific studies and conservation lines on endangered species all over Patagonia, from northern Neuquén province in central Argentina down to Tierra del Fuego, with I don't know. I'm a birder, so the Magellanic plover to me is like an awesome bird, and or the astral rail, that is a ghost of the reed beds that was thought to be extinct until 1988. So they are very interesting animals in Patagonia. But we are also working using the hooded grebe and all these kind of flagship that the hooded grebe is, to try to work with a community level, mostly with carnivores or big herbivores, because there is a lot of human wildlife conflict in Patagonia, especially the ranchers with the carnivores, because the puma, for example, feeds on the sheep, or the guanacos competing by the grass with the sheep. So we start to work with that to try to bring solutions to wildlife and to people, of course. And one of the things that I really, really like is that the American Mink Control Program that we designed to protect the hood grebe was so successful. Basically, we have had 0 grebes killed since we started the program. That was kind of awesome. Before that, we found like many surplus skinless events of mink. And since we start to work with the control program, we have 0. So 100% success. That's the dream. And the National Park Administration of Argentina saw that, understand that was really good, and I start to take our strategy, and I start to modify and start for other species like the torrent duck or the geese or many other waterfall mostly, and mammals and frogs that mink also preys on. And now we are working with national parks in 5 different national parks in all over Patagonia. So that's awesome, because one strategy that born on the hooded grebe now is all over Patagonia, protecting a lot of species. And because of the mink as well, the control program, we start to train a dog, Hobbs, on the left, with Patrick, our kind of the leader of our dogs program. But we decided to have some dogs to look for mink, but also for endangered species. So now we have 5 dogs working, and 3 of them are working with endangered species, mostly with the southern river otter, but also we are trying to push harder to get some dogs working with torrent dogs, or some other species that can be really useful to have dogs working with them. So now the conservation dogs that we have is one of the main kind of strategies we are trying to push and try to get much better in the close future. And because we learn about dogs, another kind of thing that we decide to go through is to work with the protection dogs for cattle. Like you can see that how the conservation of the hooded grebe, like 12 years ago or 13 years ago, start to go from different directions, all like pushing forward conservation of Austral and all over Patagonia. That's kind of awesome, for at least for me. And now we learn a little bit about ranch lease protection dogs for sheep. We see that it's working really well. The ranchers are using less kind of dangerous techniques to control predators. They are controlling less predators. So now we decide to have our breeding station for dogs, and we are going to be trying to supply, to be the suppliers of dogs for the ranchers, especially for those ranchers that cannot buy the dogs by themselves. So that's kind of one of the lines that we're pushing forward. But I think one of the best things of the hooded grebe project since we start is the hooded grebe, the Juan Mazar Barnett field station, biological station. And why I'm saying that? Because nowadays there are over like 20 research group and institutions working in our field station, using the field station as a kind of a base camp for their research. So basically, the hooded grebe is helping to to a lot of people to get to know the Patagonia really well. And we all know that if we don't understand the kind of the habitat or the place where we are living, we cannot protect it. So it's kind of, I think it's awesome how in 12 years we managed through the grebe to have this center, this field station in the middle of nowhere, literally in the middle of nowhere, in a place like you can picture that Santa Cruz province is the same size than the UK, but has the lowest population all over Argentina, which is quite really low population. Argentina has less than 50 million people living in the country, so it's a place where there is nobody. So having this field station is kind of a unique tool. It's really important to have it, and people is starting to not starting, is already using it as a facilitation to get information on Patagonia. And Patagonia is also have been really important for climate change studies. So it's kind of this field station is supporting research that is going to have an impact worldwide. So we are really, really happy about this. And because of we have managed so well the station, I'm kind of proud. Perhaps I feel a little bit too proud of ourselves, but I'm really happy because this we are talking about 15 years of work, and we just not have this field station, which is awesome. We have 2 other like satellite field stations, one within the Los Glaciares National Park, or the Glaciers National Park in Santa Cruz, and the other not far from the national park, but in the middle of the woods, in an area called Lago del Desierto, which is awesome place. It's beautiful, but it's really important for conservation. So we have 2 other locations that now researchers are using also to pursue their research, but we are using for our conservation strategies as well. And because of all these facilities, we opened our project to a lot of volunteers. These numbers are actually really old. We are almost over, I think we are over 400 volunteers from more than 16, 17 countries in the world that have been joining us, all over Argentina, of course. So this is kind of, we feel that this is a kind of a school for conservationists. And actually, during the last year, we did our first conservation course in well, like in Argentina for sure, and probably one of the first in Latin America of applied conservation. Basically, the students spend like 2 months with us working, studying like theoretical content, but also doing real life conservation. They were doing real life conservation actions. So that was, and we're really happy because we think it's like an upgrade of our volunteering program. And also, of course, we cannot stay all the time in the field, even though I'm a field biologist, so I love it. We have a lot of these social media platforms and a lot of talks like this one, which are really important, and we are trying to have more and more every year. We have our Instagram that you can follow, our Facebook, which is a little bit older, but you can follow. And we just opened a new Twitter account that is going to be more science style, but I would really like if you can join us and follow us. It's going to be really, really cool. And of course, we try to, even though I'm the face, I'm not the pretty face of the project, but we're trying to go for a lot of interviews and in newspaper, television, and actually we made to get to national television many times last year because some events that we had. And we have done a lot of outreach activities and environmental education, mostly with small kids on a primary level. And we have been doing a lot of materials using the hood grebe as a symbol for the kids, and it's kind of been great so far. We are really happy. Actually, one of the biggest results you can see that we have now two kind of almost technicians who you may say that they start like 12 years ago as young kids in primary school, and now they are working with us. So they are full grown adults now, more or less, and they're already working with us. So, and they came from this whole effort of environmental education. So that's awesome. And because of that, I feel kind of a lot of, I sound like I'm a lot of proud of herself, but I am actually. We've been kind of we have had many awards, which are really happy because actually they are not just the money that is behind these awards, but also by the recognitions of a lot of people and a lot of support that came from this award. Actually, with the Whitley Awards last year, the National Senate of Argentina make basically I don't know how to say it in English, like a law that our Patagonia program now is a national importance. So that's awesome for us because basically the national state is basically getting acknowledged of all our efforts. So that's kind of great. Well, was quick. I speak a little bit too fast sometimes, but I want to thank everybody, and you can see that there is a lot of people behind our work that I'm really thankful. And thank you, Jesse, again. Thank you, Joe, for all the work. And I'm sorry I missed much of the day today because I heard that there was people from Tompkins Conservation and my friend Sean Cutler was talking today as well, and I missed those talks. But
well, Kini, you can go watch them later on. They're going to be on YouTube forever. So when you're done your talk, if later tonight or tomorrow morning you want to wake up and watch, you're going to be online forever. So is everybody else. That's half the fun of the festival, is that we all get the chance to tune in and keep the learning going long after we're done. And by the way, you kept apologizing for being so proud. You should be really proud. That's an incredible amount of work, and you've done an amazing job. And the fact, I love the emphasis of the fact you started working with kids that are now adults that are coming to volunteer and work with you. That's like, that there's no better story in conservation than that. So I kudos to you from myself and the whole Global BioFest team. You highlighted a piece of conservation success that I've literally never heard of before, and I want to ask you how you possibly did it. So you have the mink that are eating the grebes, and you have you stopped that from happening. How did you stop that from happening? Because I think a lot of people saving animals around the world would love to know how you stopped an apex weasel predator.
well, I might say that all that the person who accomplished that was Lali Fasola, which is now the co-director of the program.
Yeah.
She had a lot of experience working with the wild crew in the UK, working on control of the mink. But she had to create a whole new system because Patagonia there is nobody. So we cannot work with volunteers or whatever. We have to do everything by our own, because not even the national park was there yet. Then we managed to get the national park, the creation of the Patagonia National Park. That's kind of one of our main accomplishments. But there's so many things that we have done that is really hard to to mention all of them. But yeah, they have been so short time and so many things that sometimes it's a little bit too much. But well,
Again, that's a
actually,
big problem to have.
yeah, Lali created all this control system, but actually the main success was the colony guardians. These people, these field technicians, they are people that are this kind of amazing. Is they are living for 4 months on a row in camps next to the colonies of the Grebes in the highland plateaus of Santa Cruz. You can, if you went at some point to Torres del Paine or Los Glaciares National Park in Argentina, you may feel that it's like an extreme habitat. The highland plateaus are even a little bit extremer because they are higher and more in the open, more wind, more cold. This is kind of really strong habitat. But these guys or women, actually, you had one talking. One of our colony guardians now is leading one of the the project was talking today in the morning, with Tompkin Conservation. Well, basically, these people basically control everything that's happening. They never they actually becomes a little bit kind of crazy, and they cannot even sleep because they're all the time worrying about the Grebes. So they don't let anything get close to the Grebes, and that's especially the mink. The mink was the main threat. The mink was so early detection of the mink at the colonies was one of them, our main targets, and the colony guardian did that. So basically, by using colony guardians, we basically stopped the whole surplus killing events that we had in the past. And then with the control strategy that Larry Fasola designed, basically we remove the minks farther down to the plateaus, and now the population are very far away. So basically there is less chance of a mink reaching the colonies of the Grebes. Yeah. So it was a complex. Now we have a lot of support of national parks, but it's really expensive because to go around these plateaus is about 250 kilometers. So you have to do 250 kilometers every 1 week. So that's a lot of money and resources of trucks, people, and fuel, which we are using a lot of fuel as well. So sometimes you have to be aware of your footprint as well. So yeah, it was a really challenging thing. Actually, we brought people from the wild crew, and they say we cannot say anything about this because we have never seen anything like this in our life. The UK is completely different, so we can give you some tips, but that's it. You're on your own, and Lali did really well, actually.
Kini, I love the detailed answer, and I love the lack of filter over some of the problems that you can have in the field. 4 months out in a tent in the middle of Patagonia sounds like quite a difficult challenge, and not for everybody, but I'm glad that we have so many people that are willing to do that as part of this program. Again, the passion and dedication for conservation really has shown through in absolutely every session we've had. I just want to ask one more question before we head on. Time flies and you're having fun in the BioFest, but you mentioned a few organizations over the course of your program: Wild Crew, Edge of Existence, and Whitley Awards, all three of which seem to keep coming up in a lot of programs. Can you speak to the sort of training or funding or support that they've given to allow you to do this work?
Yeah, the most important of all of those three for me on my behalf is the Edge of Existence. Not because I was the Whitley Award winner, but sadly it was during the pandemic, so I couldn't go there because they do a really good training capacities. But with the Edge of Existence, I basically was caught by them and my one of early stage of my career, and they trained me for like 3-4 years in a row, and they still give me some lot of support. And that's the Edge of Existence program is an awesome program for young conservationists, but because give you the tool to start to run a project, but also they keep pushing forward with you, and they keep and they helping. I'm already a grown adult. I'm 4 years old, and they still. I talk with Claudia or with Debbie or Olivia all the time, but not all the time because, well, I don't want to bother them all the time, but they are really after you all the time, and they are always there if you need some assistance, and I think that's great. That's the thing the big NGOs have to do with local conservation projects. Well, Wheatley was awesome. I cannot describe the impact on the media in Argentina that Wheatley Awards had. That's kind of is one of the biggest step we got with our project. So Wheatley is really incredible. If of course they have kind of a little amount of money every year, but that would be great to push everybody to have that opportunity, because it's awesome.
Kini, thank you so much for all of this. Again, your work's really special. I brought up that Eres Argentina's website, so if people want to check that out. I've put it in the YouTube chat for anyone who's tuning in. They want to learn more. And kudos to you for doing such great communication work in the local community and on social media. I hope you continue to get national news coverage, because you certainly deserve it for this level of dedication. And just thank you so much for joining us as part of the BioFest today, man.
Thank you, and sorry for my long answers.
You're good. Your answers are perfect. Have a wonderful day. Keep up the great work, and I hope you get the chance to watch some of those other programs in the days to come. Thanks, man.